If Joe Biden and the Democrats had followed the law, Jocelyn Nungary in my hometown of Houston, beautiful 12-year-old girl, raped and murdered by 2 illegal immigrants, Venezuelan gang members, Joe Biden had in custody and released. No president has ever done what Joe Biden and the Democrats did. And by the way, not a one of my Democrat colleagues, to the best of my recollection, ever asked one question about why the Department of Justice was refusing to follow the law. Mr. Blanche, is the Department of Justice doing its job if it refuses to follow the law and defies federal immigration law?
Not in my view, it is not.
You and I have talked about how I think the single biggest threat to free speech is big tech censorship. Please give this committee your views on the relevance of antitrust law to stopping big tech censorship, silencing the free speech of American people, and what are the conceivable array of tools and arrays of remedies under the antitrust laws. We saw the Biden Justice Department happily weaponize that agency to go after their political opponents. We saw Mark Houck, a pro-life protester who faced a pro-abortion protester who screamed and shoved his son, and he pushed the man back. In response for pushing a man back who had screamed at his 12-year-old son, the Biden Department of Justice and FBI sent an army of FBI agents at the crack of dawn to his house, machine guns drawn, to arrest him in front of his 7 kids. Mr. Houck had, by the way, offered through his counsel to turn himself in. In your many years as a prosecutor, have you ever sent an army of FBI agents to arrest someone who's offered to turn themselves in peacefully?
No.
Welcome back, fellow patriots. This is where truth, liberty, and the Constitution still mean something. If you love this country, if you believe in freedom, faith, family, and the rule of law, then this channel is for you. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and share this video because the mainstream media sure won't. Ted Cruz absolutely torched the Biden administration in this Senate hearing, and folks, it was fire. He said what millions of us have been screaming for years. This isn't just politics anymore. This is about whether our justice system even works, or whether it's become a tool of the radical left to crush dissent and silence opposition. Senator Cruz opens with that classic Casablanca quote, "I'm shocked to find gambling here." And he's right. That's exactly how Democrats act when someone dares to call out the weaponization of the FBI and DOJ. They pretend it's all fair, above board, nothing to see here. While Trump gets indicted 4 times, FBI agents are raiding homes, and parents at school board meetings get treated like domestic terrorists. Are you kidding me? Please watch this video and I will be back to explain further.
Great movie, Casablanca. We encounter the phrase, "I'm shocked to find gambling here." I have to say, sitting through this hearing and listening to our Democrat colleagues say, I'm shocked that anyone would think there was weaponization at the Department of Justice or the FBI. It makes me wonder where my Democrat colleagues have been the last 4 years. In over 200 years of our nation's history, we've had 47 presidents. Mr. Blanche, of those 47 presidents, how many not named Donald John Trump have been indicted?
0.
How many presidents not named Donald Trump have been prosecuted?
0.
How many not named Donald J. Trump have had FBI agents arrive at their home and rifle through their home?
0.
Throughout 4 years of the brazen weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI, Senate Democrats sat by meekly and mutely. Understand, President Trump wasn't indicted once, he wasn't indicted twice, he wasn't indicted 3 times, 4 separate times by partisan Democrat prosecutors who were terrified that the American people would vote to re-elect him. You heard just a minute ago my friend from Vermont ask you to defend the good men and women of the FBI. I agree, you should defend the good men and women of the FBI, and I'll tell you, I've heard from FBI agents who are horrified at an institution that had built a reputation for integrity being cheapened by being turned into a political weapon to attack the opposition of the Democrat White House. The single biggest thing, Mr. Blanche, you can do to protect the good men and women of the FBI is to restore integrity to the FBI and end the weaponization that has caused half of the country to no longer trust what used to be the premier law enforcement agency in the world. For 4 years, we saw the Biden Justice Department happily weaponize that agency to go after their political opponents. We saw Mark Houck, a pro-life protester who faced a pro-abortion protester who screamed and shoved his son, and he pushed the man back. In response for pushing a man back who had screamed at his 12-year-old son, the Biden Department of Justice and FBI sent an army of FBI agents at the crack of dawn to his house, machine guns drawn, to arrest him in front of his 7 kids. Mr. Houck had, by the way, offered through his counsel to turn himself in. In your many years as a prosecutor, have you ever sent an army of FBI agents to arrest someone who's offered to turn themselves in peacefully?
No.
And yet no one at the Department of Justice seemed troubled by that. They happily authorized that. And not a single Democrat on this committee, to the best of my knowledge, has ever asked one damn question about it. When the National Association of School Boards sent a letter to Joe Biden complaining that parents were unhappy by their radical policies that were happening to children, within days, the White House sent that to the Department of Justice, and days later, the Attorney General sent a formal memo to the FBI saying, target parents. I want you to go after parents who are exercising their First Amendment rights. And we've had moms and dads all over the country who've had the G-men come knocking on their door because they had the temerity to exercise free speech. Is targeting moms and dads who go to school boards and engage in peaceful speech, is that a permissible use of law enforcement?
Not in my view, Senator.
You know, if you look at this election, there are a number of issues on which there is a clear and unmistakable mandate. There is an unmistakable mandate to secure the border. Because for 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats defied the law. Federal immigration law is clear. Illegal immigrants who are apprehended shall be detained and shall be deported. Mr. Blanche, when the law uses the word shall, is that typically mandatory?
It is.
And what Joe Biden did is something no president in the history of our country has ever done. He refused to follow the law, released millions of illegal immigrants into America. He released murderers. He released rapists. He released child predators. He released Venezuelan gang members. If Joe Biden and the Democrats had been willing to follow the law, Laken Riley would still be alive instead of being murdered by a criminal illegal alien released by Joe Biden and the Democrats. If Joe Biden and the Democrats had followed the law, Jocelyn Nungary in my hometown of Houston, beautiful 12-year-old girl, raped and murdered by 2 illegal immigrants, Venezuelan gang members, Joe Biden had in custody and released. No president has ever done what Joe Biden and the Democrats did. And by the way, not a one of my Democrat colleagues, to the best of my recollection, ever asked one question about why the Department of Justice was refusing to follow the law. Mr. Blanche, is the Department of Justice doing its job if it refuses to follow the law and defies federal immigration law?
Not in my view, it is not.
We have a clear and unmistakable mandate to the voters. We will secure the border. We will stop releasing criminals and rapists and child molesters into our community. And there is a clear mandate. We will end the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. Does this committee have your commitment that you will be faithful to the law, to the Constitution, and you will bring integrity back to the Department of Justice?
Absolutely.
One final question, Mrs. Slater. You and I have talked about how I think the single biggest threat to free speech is big tech censorship. Please give this committee your views on the relevance of antitrust law to stopping big tech censorship, silencing the free speech of American people, and what are the conceivable array of tools and arrays of remedies under the antitrust laws?
Well, thank you, Senator. We did indeed talk about this. And I think we also agree that there are other tools available beyond antitrust. But what we agreed in principle is that in markets that are highly concentrated, conservative viewpoints or anybody's viewpoint can be quickly throttled or suppressed when there is market power on back of that. Someone can be disappeared from the internet quite easily when there are only two platforms providing news, for example, to the American people.
And so the remedies are potential remedies?
Well, as with any antitrust enforcement matter, it's up to us to put together a case, bring it before the courts, and then we can have a remedies discussion. It goes before a judge in the case of the DOJ.
Senator Schiff.
Let's talk about facts. 47 presidents in our history. Only one has been raided, indicted, and hounded by our own government. And that man's name is Donald J. Trump. Not Clinton, not Obama, not even Nixon. Just Trump. You want to tell me that's not political? That's not selective prosecution? This isn't about nobody being above the law. This is about making sure the law applies equally, and right now it sure doesn't. If you wear a MAGA hat, believe in the Constitution, or question anything the left says, they'll come for you. Cruz brings up the story of Mark Houck, the pro-life father who defended his son from a radical activist. And then the FBI shows up at 6 a.m. with rifles, surrounding his house like he's El Chapo. And here's the kicker. He offered to turn himself in peacefully, and they still came in guns blazing in front of his kids. Where were the Democrats? Where was the outrage? Nowhere. Because to them, if you're pro-life, Christian, conservative, you're the enemy. You remember when the DOJ targeted parents at school board meetings? Yeah, moms and dads concerned about CRT, transgender ideology in schools and lockdowns. Guess what? The White House coordinated with the DOJ to classify those parents as domestic threats. You speak up for your kids and suddenly the FBI is at your door. That's tyranny. That's what authoritarian regimes do, not the United States of America. Now let's shift to the border. Cruz nailed it again. Federal law says illegal aliens shall be detained and deported. Shall means mandatory. But Biden decided to ignore it. He's released rapists, gang members, and child predators into our neighborhoods. These aren't just statistics. These are real American families being destroyed by lawlessness. Lake and Riley. Jocelyn Nung. These beautiful lives were stolen by criminals Biden's DOJ had in custody and released. That's blood on the hands of this administration. Period. Senator Cruz says we must restore integrity to the DOJ and the FBI, and he's 100% right. These institutions belong to the people, not to one political party. But half the country doesn't trust them anymore, and for good reason. The solution isn't to defund law enforcement like the left wants, it's to reform and depoliticize it. Clean house. Fire the bad actors. Hold the abusers accountable. And don't even get me started on big tech. Cruz hit that too. The censorship is out of control. Twitter, Facebook, Google, they've built monopolies that silence conservative voices with the flick of a switch. You say the wrong thing and poof, you're deplatformed. Antitrust law isn't just a business issue anymore. It's a First Amendment issue. If two companies control 90% of online speech, they shouldn't be allowed to act like totalitarian censors. Look, I'm not just here to rant. I'm here to wake people up. The Biden administration isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. We are watching the systematic dismantling of our justice system, our borders, our free speech, and our national identity. But here's the good news, patriots. We can fight back. We vote. We speak. We organize. We support leaders like Ted Cruz who are willing to stand up and say what needs to be said. We don't stay silent. We don't back down. So if you believe in God, country, and Constitution, hit that like button, leave a comment, and share this video. Let the world know that the American people aren't fooled and we're taking this country back. This is your channel name, and as always, stay loud, stay proud, and stay free.